So in this video, I'm going to talk about part of why I've been so busy over the last year and a half, not even 2 years now. Um, no, these days I work as a software developer primarily. I also take care of the networks here. I have a degree in computer science and a minor in network administration. And I finished my degree 2 months after the dot-com bubble burst. And all the brand new programming jobs went to India. There were no jobs here to be found in America. So I did network administration for a bunch of years and started doing smaller projects on the side to start getting more skills and to eventually make my transition over into actually being a full-time software developer. Went a different direction for in the middle of all that, and I'll talk about some other time. But being in the IT field, especially the last bunch of years, in the last 10 years, I have had to change jobs 4 times. Most of them unexpectedly. One was an official firing, which was, in my mind, unjustified, but happened nonetheless. The other times were being laid off. And again, unexpected when those happened. And I've had this mindset for quite a while when that was starting to happen of wanting to make sure I had enough side incomes coming in to cover my mortgage and my bills so that I wasn't just wholly reliant on my main income. And since the 90s, I've been wanting to get into real estate, but I had a business back then that was very short-lived. That we discovered that my partner was a con artist. Everything was left in my name, and my wife and I ended up having to file Chapter 7 bankruptcy to protect what few assets we had. So my wife has always been very hesitant about getting ourselves encumbered with debt, especially in any way that would be potentially dangerous. If you get a couple of rentals, then you've got 2-3 months where you've got to do a bunch of repairs or nobody is paying and you've got to evict. And do you have enough money to cover the mortgage that you're not reliable or you're not liable for? So that journey has taken quite a bit of time to try and get there. And technically I'm not there yet. Let's give you more insight there shortly. We actually were getting very close to trying to get into our first rental unit leading into, unbeknownst to us at the time, COVID. We had gotten into a newer house, really liked our realtor, was a good friend of the family, and he'd come from the legal world before he became a realtor. And so we'd sat down with him and to discuss what it would take to be able to get the financing to get our first rental unit. And through some YouTubers that I've had started following in different channels and education I was getting, I knew that we'd missed the best opportunity for getting into rental. Best opportunity for getting into a standard rental unit is to get some type of duplex, 2 units, 3 units, 4 units in one building. You live in one of them and you rent out the others. At this point, when I'm trying to get into this, I've already got one kid that's graduate high school out of the house, another one about to graduate. Oh, actually, I had 2 graduating out of the house at that point, 2 kids still at home. It just really wasn't an option for our lifestyle and what my family was used to. But so we were going more traditional route, trying to get into our first rental apartment. And we got our realtor really got us through on what to expect, how to best get the financing, all that. And so we were focusing a lot on trying to clean up our credit and our debt to income before we approached the bank and tried to put together a deal. And then 2 months after we sat there and had that meeting, COVID happened. And I'm not talking the where people started getting sick back in January. I'm talking about the lockdowns happened. And in the middle of all of that, I had gotten a job, and then I found out my job was disappearing, not because of COVID. It was teaching on. I was a lead IT instructor at Stephen Henry College, and they decided they're going closing all in-person campuses and moving everything online. In-person campus, I was teaching associate's level classes, which I could do with a bachelor's degree. Everything online was bachelor's level classes, and I had to have a master's degree, so I couldn't teach there. Was told that my job would, if I finished teaching out my course structure, then I'd get a bonus at the end, but that was it. And so in the midst of all of that, I ended up getting offered a job office my mom worked at, or still works at, that I had done contract work for a couple years before, and that so right like I transitioned over to working here during the day. I'm still here, and teaching at night that last month. Did spring break with my kids. Came back from our last week of teaching classes, and that was the first week of lockdown. Just the weird way it was weird the whole time of that came together, and so and then because my mom's older and we didn't know much of what was going on with COVID and whatnot, and she was definitely critical to this company. And me being a newer hire, I was building some new products. They decided to let her continue to work here in the office, and we have our own little building that's the R&D building, and I worked from home for 9 months, 6 months, something like that, which worked out. But I would, even when I work here, I'm too ADD. I have to have something going in the background, music, video, usually videos, whatnot. And I had fallen into some new YouTubers on financing and housing and becoming rent owners. Again, I was very interested in this. And so right in the middle of all that, when I'm cleaning my credit, getting excited about getting into this, the Department of Health, Federal Department of Health, put in a moratorium to where people didn't have to pay rent. I'm so glad I did not make that move into rents right before that. I would have lost my shirt on it. Because, sure, people didn't have to pay rent, but the building owners still had to pay their mortgages. And lots of retirees that were using rental income for their retirement income, they lost their shirts. They did. A lot of people that were small renters lost the units that they owned because they couldn't pay for the mortgage when no one's paying the rent to them over the course of, year and a half, 2 years. But I was still interested in getting into that, but knew there had to be a safer way to do it, a better way to do it. And for years, even when I lived in California as a kid, every summer we would go up to this little campsite up in middle of Utah. And so we still go up there every 4th of July weekend, our whole family, from my parents down, go up there camping. And my parents and some of my siblings now have the nice glamping campgrounds or campers. I have rented ones a couple times, just a little bit nicer for when you're camping versus a tent, but I still do occasional tent camping. And after that camp out, we just got back into town, and I was just thinking it'd be nice to get into a camper. And my neighbors had picked up a couple campers that they were renting out through a system called RV Share, and it was paying for their campers, making a little extra money. And so as I was driving to town a couple blocks from my house, I saw that somebody had a trailer for sale that was about 3-4 years old. It looked fairly decent, and I was interested in getting a trailer, potentially renting it through a system like they're using, just to pay for the trailer. So I have a trailer that I use once, twice a year that I'm making money on. I always try and see things that way. And anyway, I had a chat with them about how they were operating and whatnot. And there's some issues with that. A lot of insurance companies don't want to touch it, even though the platforms usually offer their own rent. And to keep his liability to a minimum, he would deliver the trailer and then pick it back up. And so that there's a lot of time involved with that. But I was still considering it. And a buddy of mine owns a RV park here in town, and I went to him to see, well, if I did this, what kind of rates would I get for dumping the tanks after somebody used it? Because you got holding tanks for the toilets and the showers and whatnot. And he said, well, we could come up with a deal with that, and also for propane refills, and because they offered that service at the time at the park. And he said, well, we could do something like that, but what you may be more interested in. His son had picked up a trailer and was doing Airbnb in the trailer in his park. And the office manager had a unit. She was recently married. She was wanting to sell the unit, but because she tended to overstress about things, and want to put that money towards a house with her new husband. And mind you, the park rules for people that are staying there long term, there's a percentage that live there month to month. They're not allowed to do this, but the owner was allowing his son to do it and was interested in having me do it. And by the end of the day, I made an offer to buy that trailer I passed by, and also the manager's trailer. We put together a deal where I'd take ownership after about 3-4 months, because the rental she had said that she wanted to see through. And now I've got those 2 trailers plus one more that I picked up when my daughter got married. All the places around here, there's not enough rental units in our county. There just isn't. And what I'm hearing, it's a national issue. Um, and rents are through the roof. And many times I've had people come into my trailers on a couple weeks to a month, because I have no limit on how long someone can rent, as long as it's, the space, time available without another reservation. And I've had people just beg me to be able to rent long term. Well, I picked up this fifth wheel for my daughter because when she's getting married, her and her husband planned on only being here 6 months, but then going on to work on his master's degree up in northern Utah. And so I picked up this trailer for them to live in for those first 6 months, because every place around here wanted a 1 year minimum lease, and they could live there for a whole lot cheaper, because I wasn't charging them to make profit. I was just having them cover my cost on it. Well, after 6 months, they decided they're going to wait a year before going to university. There's a Canadian statement. And they got a regular townhouse here in town. And so I was preparing to make this trailer into another short-term unit. And I had people that begged me to stay long-term that were living in one of my trailers. And they asked because it was a little too tight there with their kids, they asked to move over to this bigger unit, paying a little more per month, and I went to a straight cash basis with them. And since they've moved out since, and another family has gone in, so I actually use that fifth wheel as a long-term rental, month-to-month contract, and keep my other trailers as short-term, Airbnb, Booking.com. And I'll clip it in a little bit here and show you those trailers and those units. And so we have one row in this trailer park that is just short-term units that are the 2-3 of us are allowed to do it in the park because of the agreements with the owner. In this park, I also do IT work there and trade. I don't charge them for my time, and for that I get a cut rate on the slot fees, and which makes it actually a fairly decent deal. I turn between $1,500 to $2,000 a month profit between the 3 trailers each month. I've also got it set up with some automation. I'll do another video more about how that operation works. Also in this park, I picked up an ice maker. One of my mentors, I'll have to look up her name, I forget. There's been several videos about these. They're all over the southeast, not so much in the west. And it looks like it's from a company called Everest. My machine's actually an older unit, it's about 12 years old. The predecessor to the Everest called the Kuna, but I've put a lot of upgrades because all the current parts still fit on it, just doing repairs on it and whatnot. This unit would probably make a lot more money as a standalone unit in a better location. I am starting to make some good profit from it, from offering bulk deliveries. I've been going into the winter. I think I'm going to probably have another couple of weeks of that before, and then it'll just be whatever people there in the park get, which won't be much until it heats back up. Here it gets very hot, so in the summer it does fairly well. And I'll go do another video on some of the issues I've had with advertising here with the city and how that played in with my city council campaign. Yeah, some fun stuff there. But if you are interested in getting into this type of investment, it's not passive. You've got to be hands-on if you want to make money at it. Admittedly, if you're in a good location, there are ones that make quite a bit of money, but you still have maintenance on the unit. So just don't think you're going to be able to buy it, set it up, park it, and walk away. If you do that, you're going to lose money on it, period. The other investment I have here running is in the little laundry room. I've got an ATM. I've been wanting to get ATMs for years. New ATMs usually cost around $2,500 to $4,000. I ended up picking this one up at an auction. I got it for $550. A deal that I was putting together, brokering purchase of a bunch of video games for a family entertainment center. And so this came out of an auction from a family entertainment center in California. Down there, they run about $10,000 a month through this thing. This laundry I'm at doesn't make that much. I do make profit on it, not a ton, but it's for me it's been a great test bed to learn about how this business works. There's a great book, fantastic book I read years ago called Think and Grow Rich, and part of that talked about when you're getting into different types of investments, you've actually got to know how they work. Someone walks in and says, "Hey, I've got this investment. I've been in this industry for years. Give me money, I'll make money for you," and they disappear with your money. I mean, if you're going to get into investments, especially from businesses, you got to understand how the businesses work. You got to get that education. And so for how little I paid to get this thing up and running, It's been a great test bed for that, and I do make some money, just not a ton. It's one of those, it's real location based. I make a lot more money if it was at an arcade, which there aren't many here in this town, or at a gas station or something like that. But I do make profit on it per year, and it's giving me ideas for something a project I'm hoping to do in the next year to 2 years. And if that comes to light, then I'll talk more about that. I don't want to give my idea away. Anyway, those are my side incomes I've been spending quite a bit of time on over the last 2 years, along with other projects. But those are ones that are continuing to make money for me at this point. And I'm just like try to expand that out. And I do want to eventually get into more standard real estate and rents. Long term, short term, each have their own issues to deal with. And the fact that I am using trailers, much lower cost of acquisition, but they don't hold up as well. You have to do a lot of maintenance on them, get a lot of continual repairs on them. Just part of it. And I'll probably do it later, go more into that. But anyway, I think I've rambled on long enough. If you have any actual questions about the things that I've been talking about or the investments I've been involved with, feel free to put them in the chat. I'll take a look through. And then, of course, all the normal YouTube stuff. If you like it, thumbs up, subscribe, all that garbage. You can tell how energized I am about that. But for now, have a good day.